Travel Weekly webcasts in partnership with the PC Agency, the travel consultancy amplifying luxury brands and boosting sales through expert PR, trade representation and dynamic marketing.
Well, hello again, everyone, and welcome to the next in our series of webcasts that we're bringing you as part of our Roadmap to Recovery series here at Travel Weekly as we navigate our way through this pandemic. And I'm delighted today to be joined by Ian Henry, who is, of course, Chief Executive of Shearings Holidays. So hello, Ian. Thank you for sparing the time.
Afternoon.
Now, it's very exciting that you're here for a reason, because you've just made the announcement that you are going to be acquiring the assets of Shearings Holidays. So, of course, we saw the demise of that. It was very sad for the industry, a brand with a lot of heritage. So tell us what you've done. Tell us what you've managed to pick up from that.
Well, I think obviously, first and foremost, you know, our thoughts are with everybody who works with or worked with Shearings in the group. There's a lot of people there who've worked for many years, stalwarts of our sector of the industry, really. And I think you sort of hit the nail on the head when you called it the heritage brand. It is the sort of iconic name, and to some degree, to ourselves, it seems a little bit surreal that we've now got the opportunity to acquire that brand and take it on in the future and sort of shape it in a way that we can try to build it.
Yeah, because presumably they've been a competitor of yours for many years, Ian.
Yeah. I mean, in various guises, whether it was sort of pre the name of Shearings, there was obviously Wallace Arnold, which became part of that business. You know, as we were still starting out as a business 30 odd years ago, they were already sort of the seniors of the industry. So yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say we've looked up to them because we've done our own things, but obviously it's definitely been an obstacle to any growth that we've tried to do over the years.
Okay, so now hopefully you'll be able to do that. So explain to us which parts of the business that you've actually acquired.
Well, we've acquired the Shearings brand name, the Shearings domain names, and if you like, the trademarks that go with that. And they are the bits that we sort of identified that were most relevant to us in terms of the customer profile, the type of programs that they were marketing and selling over many years, both UK and Europe. Okay. So that's the bit that we focused on. That's what we've acquired. We haven't acquired the company, so we've not taken on the liabilities, the coaches, the hotels, etc. It is the brand names, the database, and the trademarks that we've acquired.
Okay. All right, that's interesting. And obviously, a lot of the customers, it was all over the news, so people will think it's gone, it's no longer existing. So, when are you planning to resurrect it as a business? When will you, start selling again, and when will you get your first tours going again?
Well, the world is difficult, as you know. So, in a normal world, we'd probably be firing away to get tours departing as quickly as we can. I think we're going to take a slightly more conservative approach to it, and our plan is to start operating tours next year. If by some chance there is some sort of miraculous sort of recovery of the travel industry in terms of the ability to travel unfettered in the short term, then clearly we'd have a look at what we might be able to do in the later part of the autumn. But I think what we're focused on is departures for next year from about the middle of March onwards. But in terms of going on sale, we are currently sort of finalising a programme that will be our initial launch programme for the UK, and likewise for Europe, and that should be on sale, I would say, probably in about 2 weeks' time.
Okay, great. All right. Now you say you've not picked up the coaches then, so you're going to operate your own coaches, but will they all be branded? The brand will still exist presumably, and will the coaches be branded if you're going on a Shearings holiday?
Yeah, I mean, it's important that we're not just in this for a short term. This is a sort of long-term plan that we've got to develop the brand, and clearly it's part of its heritage was the coaches that people saw driving up and down the motorway painted in the colours. In the same way, we have leisure coaches that are painted in colours, but we don't physically own those coaches. They're owned by third-party coach operators, and they paint the vehicle or put the livery onto it in our style, fit out the inside in a style that we've required and laid out for them. And we expect we'll be doing the same thing with the Shearings coaches, which will have a different configuration to a leisure coach, different positioning in the market, but pretty similar to what Shearings was doing.
Okay, so perhaps just explain that. Sorry, Ian. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, so you will be seeing the vehicles on the road in due course. Yeah.
Okay, great. And I just, maybe you could explain then the positioning. You know, you said they're going to have a different configuration. So is one perhaps sort of higher end market than the other? Is one, I know, for example, Shearings has been more in the UK perhaps, and Ledger has been very much a European program. So can you just explain how you're going to have those two brands in the same business, but obviously offering a very different thing?
Yeah, well, I think there's two aspects to it. As you said, Ledger has been primarily European, if in fact almost exclusively European. And as I think I mentioned to you previously, we have been looking to get into the UK market. The way we're going to position it is obviously Ledger remains European, and Ledger currently has three sort of coaching brand propositions. What we would call an executive coach, which is probably the type of coach that people see on the road most days. And then Ledger has provided two sort of upgrade standards: Silver Service, which is a coach with fewer seats, a rear lounge, a little bit more comfort on board. And then Luxuria, which is the sort of the top end of coaching, a capacity of probably 2/3 of a normal coach in terms of seat numbers, a lot more social distancing, fortunately.
Yeah.
But lots more facilities like seatback TVs and very much the business class style of travel. Those Silver Service and Luxuria coaches on Ledger will continue to operate on our European tours. And for Shearings, we will be operating what we would describe as the executive coaches on both European and UK. So Ledger won't be doing any UK tours, it will only be Shearings, and they will be, in the first instance anyway, operated on the executive coaches, which have a sort of slightly higher capacity, but clearly we're doing shorter journeys, etc., compared to travelling down across Italy, Spain and Eastern Europe, etc., which would be a European. But it's very much a two-pronged attack with the Shearings products, which we're on European and UK. Shearings had a very strong European program, not far off, similar size to the Ledger program. So clearly, we were very interested in the Shearings brand just for the European, let alone for the UK.
Yeah, and what you're saying though, that what Shearings will offer in Europe won't overlap with what Ledger's doing. It'll be differentiated between
We'll
the
be
two.
going to similar destinations, because clearly there's only one Europe, and if you go to the Italian lakes, there's only one area of the Italian lakes that you're going to visit, one or two lakes. So we'll be going to the same destinations, but on, let's call it, different standards of coach, which offer different levels of comfort, but also obviously come with a different level of price. And that's sort of the way we'll sort of split the proposition to the consumer. But we will market, as Shearings in a particular style, and then as Ledger in a particular style.
And if you were a customer, or if you were a travel agent who'd been used to selling Shearings, will it be pretty much what they're used to?
I would say so, particularly on the European, because we've there's fewer challenges to sort of get that element of the brand resurrected. Many of the suppliers that Shearings was dealing with in Europe are the ones we deal with anyway, so it's really just expanding the capacity that we, as a group, we've got available. But in the UK, clearly that's new product. So I would say on day one, it certainly won't be a replica of the Shearings, partly or mainly because Shearings owned a lot of its own hotels through the Bay Hotels and Coast and Country brands mainly. And those hotels are still closed because they were under a slightly separate ownership structure. And until, if you like, we've got hold of the brands, we're not quite in a position to be able to talk them to the owners of the hotels about them reopening them and us offering those hotels to customers.
Okay, so you'd like to go back into those hotels if at such a time somebody else reopens them, or as you say, they were a different part of the structure. So presumably there are talks about somebody acquiring those properties, and that at that point then you'd be able to sort of look to reintroduce them into programs.
Yeah, I suppose it's a chicken and egg. Whoever acquires the properties will want a coach tour operator to provide customers for the hotels, and a coach tour operator like us wants the hotels to have somewhere to place our customers. It remains to be seen. I don't think we would be looking at all of the hotels. I think the Shearings program was very big, and we don't. We're not. There's no ego that we've got. We're not trying to be big about what we're doing.
So you're not interested in acquiring properties. You only want to operate the tours and the coaches.
Yeah, our model all along is we're a tour operator. We don't own the coaches. We're asset light, so we work with third parties who own the assets, and then that works best. Each side can focus on what they're good at. That's the way we view. Not knocking the Shearings model, because that was the model that sort of developed over the years and worked for them for many years, but obviously it's not what we're known for, so it's not what we will be doing.
Okay. Now you're launching 30 new tours in the UK. So tell us about those. I mean, they're obviously you're having to contract. If you don't have experience in the UK, I guess you're having to contract and new hotels and things right now.
Yeah, we've already contracted a program. It's something we were looking at anyway, so it's not something that we only began on the demise of Shearings. We probably accelerated it rather than began the program at that point. Around about 30 tours initially. There will be more, and they will have a range of departure dates through next summer, and areas covered are Scotland, North Wales, the Southwest, South Wales, the South Coast, pretty much most places that you would think of as a destination for a UK-based tour. Typically 5 days duration, and some slightly longer ones, 7 and 8 days, particularly for Scotland. And that's the market that we think we're into. We're not particularly looking for the 2 and 3 night breaks. We want something a little bit more solid with a little bit more margin in it, let's be honest.
Yeah, and I know you say clearly we're in a difficult time to be launching things. We understand that, but everybody is tipping domestic travel to be, to do well, obviously this summer, whilst, the people we're still waiting to hear about flying overseas, etc. So you must have some confidence that the sort of staycation market is going to do well.
Well, I mean, the staycation market for Shearings, as it was enormous anyway. They were much bigger than we were as a business, taking people to Europe. Their UK business was bigger than their European business. But even if we only pick up a percentage of that, ultimately, it's still going to be good for Ledger as a group, the Ledger and Shearings group as we are. As I say, we're not needing to actually run the numbers that Shearings was running. But we think we're going to be assisted by the fact that the market will actually be in our favour as well at this time.
Okay. Now you mentioned right at the start, and rightly so, that a lot of people lost their jobs when Shearings failed. So what's happening? Are you taking on any of the staff, or is that not part of the acquisition?
No, it's not part of the acquisition is the first point. As the business builds, we will no doubt have a requirement for additional resource in the business, some of it direct and some of it indirect. So, for example, the indirect would be use of coaches. So as the operators we work with, some of them may require hiring additional driver guides, etc. So that will sort of follow the sales, so to speak. In the short term, clearly we're not operating tours, so we don't really have a great need for operational staff at the moment. And we think we've got enough capacity within our own business for what we would see as the start point. Clearly, as things develop, and if they develop to the potential that they could develop to, then we will definitely need to recruit additional people. I think one of the things we've learned is through the lockdown period is not everybody needs to work from the same office. So whilst we're based over in South Yorkshire on the east side of the Pennines and Shearings was on the west side of the Pennines, it doesn't mean that if we do look to recruit people in the future that they'd have to come to us, because people may be able to work from home.
Yeah, because presumably there's a lot of talent and years of experience and knowledge from people in that business. So you're saying at a point in time, it may be that you need to recruit people, and that maybe you can take on.
Yeah, I mean, we're not sort of instantly bullish insofar as we think from tomorrow morning, after this transaction is completed and we're selling holidays in 2 weeks' time, that we're going to be totally overrun, because we think the market is still challenging. But clearly we would hope and expect that as time moves on that will change.
Okay, and let's just talk about the trade, because obviously hugely important to Shearings, and to Ledger, that you work well with travel agents. So can I assume that you're still going to be selling through the trade?
Yeah, I mean, we're sort of, the Ledger business model has been sort of multi. We don't deny that we sell direct. It's important that you do have some control over your customer database and your customers, but clearly lots of customers prefer to actually go into a shop and book, or talk to somebody who they know locally and book, whichever way it might be. And Shearings has been exactly the same as a business, so clearly that's going to be part of our, central to our plan as well going forwards. We're looking forward to being able to talk to travel agents about selling both brands.
Absolutely, and presumably then there'll be quite a bit of a job to do in terms of telling everybody that it's back, and marketing, and as you say, putting together a brochure, which I think you said you were just signing off as we came on the call.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean, we're starting with a sort of, I'd just call it an initial brochure, and clearly we'll be looking to expand the range as we go. I think in terms of putting brochures into travel agents, we'll wait a little while because clearly the agents themselves are not fully functioning yet and still probably dealing with the aftermath of this summer. So I don't think it would be quite the right time to be launching something, but there will be a website that they can book holidays, view the holidays and book through. And clearly, you know, we'll be communicating to them as and when we can do.
And presumably, if you're taking on the customer database, as you say, you'll know all the people that had forward bookings that then lost them as part of the failure. So you'll be able to contact them, will you, initially?
Yeah, I mean, the customers who book direct with Shearings, of which there was a substantial proportion, we'll be able to contact them directly to ask them, do they want to book a similar holiday or whatever our offering happens to be, or any holiday. And likewise with travel agents, we can talk to the agents and see, have they got customers who've got a specific holiday that they took each year or whatever it might be, and, you know, buy one of the sort of Shearings style holidays as they always did do.
And there's no change to the sort of group name or anything, is there? I mean, you'll still be Ledger Holidays, of which Shearings is a brand, or will you ultimately have a group sort of umbrella name with Ledger and Shearings as the brand beneath?
Well, we already have a group structure anyway, although really Ledger is the main component of that structure. But, you know, so the two brands will sit alongside each other as sort of as twins, so to speak. And yeah, but no plans to sort of change the name at the top end. There'll still be a Ledger Holidays and there'll still be a Shearings.
Okay, fair enough. And just before I let you go, just because it'd be interesting to know you mentioned there when we were talking about the configuration on coaches that some were obviously better equipped for social distancing. You know, how do you feel the coach, touring market is going to be equipped for coping with any new requirements and restrictions that there are going to be as we emerge from this pandemic?
Well, I think, I mean, it's very difficult to know because difficult to get guidance is the first issue that you've got. In terms of travelling through Europe, there are challenges at the moment because one country will say the coach can travel with a full load of passengers and another country will say it can only have half the number of passengers. Well, obviously, if you're doing a progressive tour, you can't reach the border and then sort of
chuck some of them off.
Or hire another coach to sort of split everybody in two for a couple of days or whatever. So that's the sort of short-term challenge. But to be honest, the way I think we've actually dealt with this issue over the whole summer, effectively we wrote the summer off or the year off in terms of running holidays. To us, it will be a bonus if we do run any holidays to Europe this year in terms of our financial plan. So we're not sort of stressing on every news item about whether we can start running tours in the next month or the month after that. Although we do expect that we now start to think there is a strong chance that we'll be able to run them in the autumn. And then in terms of the social distancing, well, it's just waiting to see really what further measures are put in place. And it's, we're probably no different to pubs and restaurants. If the coach can only have half a load on it, it's not particularly profitable. So,
so you'd rather wait until it's such a time when you can run them to the model that works for you.
Yeah, and I think we've been quite honest with our customers as well. We've cancelled all our holidays to the end of August, and offer customers the option to rebook or have their money back. And even for September, customers due to travel in September, we're offering them the option. If they don't want to travel, we think there's a chance travel will be possible. But if they don't want to, they can still move to another date or period or whatever, or different type of tour if they felt more comfortable somewhere else. So, we're sort of in a position where when the rules are set in terms of how many people can be on a coach, then we can react accordingly without it causing us too much stress, really.
Okay, and you've worked out, you've done your budgeting that you don't have to be rushing to get back. You've got a scenario where, as you say, any travel this year would be a bonus.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it works either way for us. Clearly, we prefer to be travelling because you will make more money than not doing anything. But if we're only on half full coaches, then we'll be sort of running holidays almost for practice rather than for profit. So.
Yeah. Well, look, talking of money, whenever there's an acquisition, I have to ask the question, Ian, how much you paid for the Shearings assets. I don't always get an answer, so let's try you with that.
Well, no, we definitely won't get an answer. We're bound by confidentiality with the administrators, but no doubt the administrators have to put a report out at some time. So no doubt.
So I've got to keep my eyes peeled, basically.
The line there somewhere, yeah.
All
so
right,
sorry,
okay.
I'll help you on that one. So,
I've got to try. You can't blame me for trying.
it was significant enough for us to have to think about it. Let's put it that way. So.
Okay, and of course you're private equity backed, and they obviously felt very, positive, and they supported your decision.
No, we're not private equity backed. Actually, we were once upon a time, but we bought them out. So
okay.
we're privately owned. So
privately owned now. Oh, okay.
It's my family and 3 of the management team who own the business. So
it better work.
It better work, yeah, or else I'll be getting a punch at home to start with, and then let alone in the office. So.
All right. Well, listen, it's I said to you at the start, it's really great to be reporting on something really positive. As I say, I think people, it was a really sad day when we thought the Shearings brand was lost from the industry after so many years. So it's fantastic that you're resurrecting it, Ian, and that you're going to be running it. And so we wish you all the best of luck.
And thank you. Just as I said at the beginning, we are sort of sympathetic to what had happened prior to our ownership, and we want to try and take good care of it and build it up for the future, and hopefully in so doing it may create some more jobs along the line.
Okay, well, we look forward to reporting on that too. So thank you very much, best of luck. So Ian from Ledger, thank you.
Thank you.
Travel Weekly webcasts in partnership with the PC agency, the travel consultancy amplifying luxury brands and boosting sales through expert PR, trade representation and dynamic marketing.